Hey you, welcome to another one of these video thingies. Unit 4. It covers a lot of new words that we use literally every day, like this, these, that, and those, or at, in, or on, to communicate where something or someone is, including behind, in front of, above, and under. But one particular expression from this unit is highly important to clarify. In fact, we natives use it so often, and it's so natural for us that the way we say it sometimes is not even recognizable to non-natives.
I wonder why there aren't any fingerprints.
Wait, what?
I wonder why there aren't any fingerprints.
We humans are social beings. Not all in the same way, but we all need friends and contacts that we feel like we can talk to. It's true, we all have different things that we like to talk about, but one thing that most of us like to talk to other people about is the strange and bizarre world that we live in, and to tell them about the things that exist around us. For instance, if two moose fight in my driveway, I want people to know about that. And I imagine that's how you are too. If I know about a bee in your can of cold, delicious Coca-Cola, I'll probably tell you about that. I see an alien ship in the sky. Do I keep that secret? No. I want other people to see that too, so that they know I'm not crazy. So that's how we are. We like to share what we know with the people around us. Now, when we want to tell someone that something exists, English learners often make the mistake of using the verb exist. Exists a creepy old car across the street with creepy people around it. Or exists a man in New York who can help you with that shoulder problem. But curiously, that is not how we talk about the existence of something. And if you think about it, we also do not communicate that way in Spanish. We do not say, existe un auto bien feo enfrente con gente rara. Or existe un hombre en Nueva York. We say something more like, hay un carro bien feo ahí enfrente con gente bastante rara. Or hay un hombre en Nueva York que te puede ayudar. So in Spanish, we use this word I, which is a conjugation of haber, to talk about the existence of something, or that something does not exist, like when we say no hay. In English, we have two ways to express I. We have there is, and we have there are. Now, there is we use for something singular, like there is a tractor on that hill. We also use there is to talk about non-countable things. For example, there is water in the ocean, a lot of it, like at least 1,000 liters, more than I can drink in a whole year. And then we use there are for plural things. For instance, there are some sharks that look fake or dead. But no, sharks do not play around. Now, it's easy to say there is or there are. And sometimes we actually pronounce it there is, just like we would see it and hear it in the classroom.
I believe there is such a thing as right and such a thing as wrong. Where there is a Muslim majority, that will be Pakistan.
You know, there is something else that we could do.
So that's pretty easy, not only to say, but also to understand when you hear it. The problem is that we normally do not say it that clearly. What we do more often is contract the two words, because that's how we can talk and be lazy at the same time.
We think there's a Japanese juvenile staying with him.
So I would like permission to move her to one of the offices where there's a sofa.
There's a lot of suspicion and hate.
Do you hear how that is? Now we also sometimes say there are, just like we would see it and hear it in the classroom.
Yeah, there are some funny ones.
There are hundreds of unknown subjects out there.
So that's also pretty easy. And we cannot contract there are. So even better, right? Well, it is true that it cannot be written as a contraction. But we natives, when we speak, we do our best to make it sound like it's contracted anyway. And it's often difficult for the non-native to detect.
I've checked all the databases. There are 4 possibles.
There are at least 10 others.
There are some things that I must see to.
What thing?
No, there are hundreds of them.
So that's a little more difficult, right? In fact, we often use the contraction of there is to talk about plural things because it rolls off the tongue more easily than trying to crunch together there are. And this is especially the case when we use it with a lot of.
We're tight, but frankly, there's a lot of windows up here.
There's a lot of things I miss about the US.
You like what?
Yeah, there's a lot of things Fury doesn't tell you.
So, yeah, don't write theirs followed by a plural on an exam because teachers don't like that. But that's how we often say it in the real world. There's a lot. But let's talk about making questions though. When using there are in the question form, we reverse the order to are there, which is what we nearly always do with questions in English, and it normally sounds very clear. Listen to these.
Now! Are there any more?
Colonel, are there any boats on that side?
Are there any questions so far?
Are there many more out there like you, Mr. Savage?
Now we do the same with there is, changing the order, and it sometimes sounds clear.
Is there something wrong?
Is there a sinner here looking for God?
Yes.
Is there some other option?
Is there one further away?
But it's often difficult for some reason to catch is there when people are talking, like in these examples.
Excuse me, there a problem over there?
Is there water? It's salty.
God, is there anyone in this town we can trust? I gotta take care of something.
Some time?
Now again, that's no problem for me, but it's helpful for you to observe how native speakers can sometimes be with their pronunciations. Now, when we want to express no I in English, there is a lot of variety in the way that we can do that. Now to start with, we have there is not, but we also have there is no. Yeah, it's true. It's not a joke. They both express and mean the same thing. No I. But we use there is not with quantitative words like a or an or one or much or any or a lot of. Like when we say in Spanish, no hay un momento, no hay ni una, no hay mucho, or no hay nada de.
And I would emphasize that I think our first duty is to recognize that there is not one India, but several.
I know there is not much point now in hoping.
Please assure me there is not an assault about to happen.
And then we use there is no with just the word that follows. For example, no hay tiempo, no hay salida, no hay esperanza, no hay felicidad, no hay alegría.
There is no escape from this.
Why do you linger here when there is no hope?
But, as you can imagine, normally when we express there is not, we're going to contract it by saying there's not. And it's usually easy to understand, like this.
There's not enough time. Now, you know, I'm not the kind of guy who likes to rush things, but I'm catching a 4 o'clock at Logan. I'm looking out my window, and there's not a taxi in sight.
I like you, but there's not a chance I'm gonna let you direct our...
Fred, there's not much left.
What was it?
There's not a person alive who's seen it.
Oh, but there is a second way that we can and often do contract there is not. We can say there isn't, which is just a variation of the same thing.
There isn't much time.
There isn't a prosecutor in the state who'll go after Senator Rourke.
Well, there isn't any real easy way to say this, so,
There isn't any music.
Sure there is.
Small parties, there isn't any privacy.
But it's not always easy to understand.
And there isn't one of us that doesn't want to be someplace else.
Now, there's only one way to contract there is no. And that's just by saying there's no.
No! There's no time!
No, there's no need to worry. It's been chased.
There's no money you can steal.
And let's not forget that we have there are not for plural things. And we also have there are no. And just like with there is not and there is no, the distinction is based on certain quantitative words that are used with the expression there are not, such as any, many, or a lot of. Or just when there are not is the entire sentence. For example,
yes, no.
No, there are not.
It's not always easy to understand people when they say there are not.
There are not many people around in these alcoves in Christmas time.
Did you catch that? It's hard. However, when we use there are no, it's usually pretty clear. Check these out.
There are no men like me.
There are no long-term effects.
There are no colored attorneys in South Africa.
There are no oaths at Baird.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, it's not so clear.
Chewie, check the rest of the ship. Make sure there are no more attached. Chewing on the power cables.
Did you hear that? I mean, I did, but it's very hard if you're not a native. Now, Between there are not and there are no, only there are not can be contracted. And we would do that by saying there aren't. And sometimes it's easy to understand.
Why do you think there aren't any germs in the air?
There aren't many mums who'd let their sons run off to join the circus.
And sometimes it's not easy to understand at all.
It's a kid's story, so there aren't any big words.
There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
I swear there aren't so many as there used to be.
I wonder why there aren't any fingerprints.
No, I don't know. So it's one thing to learn how to express I and no I in English by using there is and there are. But observing how natives say that out in the real world and learning how to recognize and use those contractions helps you to practice and learn to use them in the way that a native speaker uses them. And that's definitely what we want to do. So that's all for this one. Have a good one.